Will Donald Trump occupy the White House while also occupying a prison cell? In this video, I will explain to you why the President of the United States is likely to be Donald Trump, while it's also likely that he's going to go to prison, and why his legal team is working day and night to delay these cases to give him a chance to win the election so that they can keep him out of prison. So after all this time, we're back to talking about this man. Not only is he contesting for another term of the President of the United States after losing one election, which is very rare, he's also facing 91 counts of felonies against him. Just this week, let me tell you this story. It's the Carroll case. This is E. Jean Carroll. She's a journalist and an author who wrote a book back in 2019 in which she accused Donald Trump of raping her back in the 1990s. Now, Donald Trump said that she's totally lying. He called her a liar, and he said that he would never rape her because she's just not his type. Well, that case went to court, and in May 2023, Donald Trump was found guilty of sexual assault and was ordered to pay Carroll $5 million. Carroll then filed another defamation case against him. Now, that case a verdict came out this week, and Donald Trump was ordered to pay a whopping $83.3 million to Carroll for calling her a liar, effectively deciding that what she was saying was the truth. Now, between his 91 felony counts, Trump is actually facing a total maximum of 700 years in prison, spread across various charges from criminal to civil charges. But I'll take you through the three most serious charges, or the three most serious cases he's facing before this big election year. And I'm going to read off my laptop at this point because we don't have the money to afford a fancy teleprompter. So the first big case that Trump is facing is called the New York case. Now, this is about his personal business. Now, he is facing a maximum of 136 years. Donald Trump is accused of 34 counts of falsifying business records, a felony under the New York state law. Each count carries a maximum sentence of 4 years in prison, and that is a total of 136 years. Although, in the very least, he might get away with a massive fine that could cripple his business. The second case is the documents case. Now, Trump is accused of mishandling classified information in an egregious manner, including in one instance supposedly showing classified materials to guests at his resort, taking classified material away from the White House to his private residence after he finished serving as president, and of obstructing justice. So when the FBI was raiding his resort to find those documents, he apparently instructed his staff to destroy and to hide those documents. Now, all of these charges are very, very serious and carry terms of between 10 and 20 years each. Then comes the federal elections case. Now, Trump has been charged with crimes related to the 2020 election, which was the election that he lost to Joe Biden, which he claims was actually stolen or fraudulent against him, and the effort his team made to change the results. So he's being charged of conspiracy to commit election fraud, conspiracy against the American right to vote, and an attempt to block the certification of the election by summoning up a mob to attack the Capitol building on the 6th of January. Each of these carrying a charge of 20 years as sentences. Now, Trump is calling all of these cases a political witch hunt in an attempt to keep him out of the White House and to distract him from the campaign trail. Remember, this is costing him hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees, which is very expensive at a time when he should also be focusing on a very expensive campaign trail. He's called himself the victim, and he has used every one of his court appearances to sort of use it like an election stance. But will Trump win the nomination for the Republican candidature and also contest to be President of the United States while the courts decide on whether or not he's a criminal? Let's look at those odds. Now, going by his performance in the Republican caucus so far, Trump is looking fairly strong to be the only Republican candidate standing. Ron DeSantis and Vivek Ramaswamy dropped out of the contest, and the only one left standing against him is Nikki Haley, and she's not as strong and is likely to be asked to drop out by the other Republicans anytime soon, which means that the Republican candidate to contest for the President of the United States is likely to be Donald Trump. Is he likely to win that contest though? Let's look at his opponent on the other side. US President Joe Biden, 81 years old, the oldest president to have ever occupied the Oval Office in its history. It's already being commented on how he seems too old for the job that he's holding. But the big surprise here is that he's contesting for another term, which means he hopes to stay in office till he is 85 years old, making the 77-year-old Donald Trump seem like a viable option. But that's not it. Biden's ratings right now are underwater. His approval rating has dropped as low as 31%. And in modern history, no US president in his first term has ever had a rating that is this low. To add to that, nearly 75% of the people in the United States disapprove of Biden's handling of the Israel-Hamas war. So that is why Donald Trump is looking so confident. But there's a massive problem here. Remember, I told you how his legal team is working day and night to delay these cases as much as possible. And in many of the criminal cases, he has to appear in person in court, which means that they can't happen all simultaneously. So they're actually being staggered out. Now, here's the real reason why this might be happening. If Trump gets convicted before the presidential elections in November this year, it won't stop him from contesting. Because in order to become eligible to contest for the President of the United States, you only need three things. You need to be what they call a natural born citizen of the country. You need to have lived in the country for 14 straight years. And you need to be at least 35 years old. Donald Trump is all of these three things. Now, like in India, we have a rule that disqualifies someone from occupying parliament if they've been convicted in a case for more than 2 years. The US does not have that same rule. Let's assume the cases actually play out after November and Donald Trump has become the president of the United States by that time. He would actually have the ability to dismiss the federal cases or the national cases against himself, although he won't be able to dismiss the state cases against himself. Now, the US president also has very broad pardoning powers. He's able to pardon people who've been convicted of cases. The question is, will Donald Trump actually pardon himself? Now, legal scholars are actually divided on this because they say it flies in the face of a basic principle that you cannot be a judge in your own case. So if Donald Trump does decide to pardon himself, that question is likely to end up in the Supreme Court. But knowing what we know of Donald Trump so far, if that option is on the table, he's likely to use it. So fundamentally, from where we're looking at it, it's going to be an extremely eventful year for Donald Trump because he is definitely going to contest all the way into till November. Plus, these cases are going to play out from March to May and then onwards. Donald Trump looks poised right now to push the American democracy onto its very brink. And there doesn't seem to be anybody right now strong enough or young enough to stop him. Now, do you think that Donald Trump should contest and become president of the United States, also given all of the sexual harassment claims against him? Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think.